I remember walking into our ICU one Monday morning to see what patients had come in over the weekend. And it was around the holidays, and there were 3 adult males in 30s, between their 30s and 40s, that had been brought in from different crashes. All of them had been drinking, a couple of them at taverns, and they were well above the adult legal limit. The third one at a party, they had crashed their vehicles, weren't wearing safety belts, and 2 of these gentlemen ended up dying of their brain injuries, and the third one survived with a brain that'll never work normally again. He also broke his neck, and so he's paralyzed from his shoulders down for the rest of his life. And I walked into his room, and there were cards, hand-drawn cards from his children saying, "Daddy, we love you. Daddy, please come home." And I know that these children are never going to have a father that's going to be able to play ball with them or go see their plays or do any of that kind of thing because of choices he made, and then because somebody who was serving him didn't question, didn't say, "I think you've had enough. Were you planning on driving home? Can I call you a cab instead?" All of those things, those interventions that people could do, could have kept his children from having a life that would never be the same again. We're learning a lot more about why kids shouldn't drink until they're at least 21. It has to do with brain development. It has to do with the way our kids drink. So I'm asking you to be really careful about ID and checking everybody. The underage drinkers of today are the drunk drivers of tomorrow. There's been a research project that shows something I could have told you 30 years ago, and that's that drunks can't count. As a server, it's your job to keep track of that. And I wish it wasn't, but it's just the nature of alcohol. You don't realize how much you've had, and the more people drink, and as servers, you know this, the more people drink, the better they think they're doing. So thank you for doing your job, making sure that our kids are not drinking when they're underage, and making sure that the rest of us are safe out there on the highways, because you haven't let somebody go who's had more than they should, and be safe drivers.
My main focus while I was a motorcycle officer was investigating traffic crashes, issuing citations for violations of various traffic laws, and also enforcing DUI and drunk driving. On January the 6th of 2002, very unfortunately, I did find a drunk driver. I was traveling southbound on Sandy, and a drunk driver was traveling eastbound on Oak Street and missed the stop sign, and I did not have a stop sign. As the car came through the intersection, I impacted right in front of the driver's door, flew over the car, and hit what I believe was about 21 feet away on my head. The police report was stamped fatal, so they expected me to be killed. Again, the driver that I actually ran into had been out drinking most of the night with her friends. She was a young 21-year-old woman. Had been out drinking most of the night with her friends, had also visited 2 taverns and was served at both taverns, was extremely intoxicated, and had been smoking marijuana as well. When they finally did the blood draw on the warrant on her at the hospital, was about an hour and a half later, she was still a 1.7. So that was over twice the legal limit. On top of that, she had been smoking marijuana. So she was very intoxicated. My life changed severely on that day. I was in a coma for a week. After waking up from my coma, I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what had happened or anything. I didn't get to see my kids at all for 5 weeks because I was so physically scary looking that my wife didn't want my kids to get scared. She had just told the kids that Dad got hurt, he broke his leg, and he's in the hospital. I was in the hospital 2 months. I had 2 brain surgeries. I ended up having 2 jaw surgeries, a surgery to get a rod put in my femur, and also a surgery to get some hardware taken out of my head. It's been 6 years now since I got hit, and to be honest with you, the first 3 or 4 years, it was very difficult to even get my life back on track again. It was very difficult to go through a daily routine without getting depressed or losing my temper or doing something. I have not been able to go back to work with the police bureau. I never went back after I got injured. I ended up getting medically disabled. The woman who hit me was, I don't know many people who could be a 1.7 and not be visibly impaired. It's easy to see. There's the slurred speech, there's the red bloodshot eyes, and I don't understand how she did get served, but she did, and the consequences were severe. Not only was my life very seriously impacted, I didn't do anything wrong. I was doing my job, and I got hit by a drunk driver. As far as servers, not only are you personally liable for the people that you overserve and go out and get into accidents and crashes, there's a moral responsibility as well. Think of the people that are not drinking and driving that are getting impacted by the drunk person's action that you're serving.
When I was 4 years old, my favorite cousin Anna was killed by a drunk driver on her wedding day. And I really didn't realize what drunk driving was all about until June 24th, 1960, when my father was hit by a drunk driver. His left hip was crushed. His quality of life had changed, but he lived until 90. On March 8th, 1996, here in Oregon, in Cottage Grove, my son was a passenger. His 19-year-old girlfriend was the driver. Chance was only 20. They were traveling to see his friends in a party at one of the lakes, and 3 cars decided to play chicken, going across town to another party. They had the beer cans, the keg of beer. They were all underage. They hit Sarah and Chance head on. Chance was killed. Sarah suffered a severe brainstem injury. The effects that it had on my life was incredible. The anger, the grief, the void, the empty chairs at the holiday, my daughter having to go through her life without having her brother. And it could have stopped if someone hadn't sold some of the beer cans to the underage person. They were all friends. In fact, the passenger of the truck that killed my son was my son's best friend. The anger and the grief that stays with the individual and the victim never goes away. It's always with me. I've had to learn how to live my life all over again. I live through my son. I live for every day. And I'm here to give you a message today to please watch what you're doing, how much you're serving, and if you see someone staggering out of the bar, the establishment, to stop them and try your best to get them in a cab, or if you have to, call the law. Tell them that this individual is leaving this establishment, because you never know. They could go out and kill your family member. Your job is extremely important. To watch, to observe. Because I would never want you to be in my shoes. Even though he was 6'2", 200 pounds, he was still my baby. And I don't want anybody else going through this. Some people would say, well, it's been 12 years. It never stops. It never, ever goes away.